Welcome to the Let's Talk Fabulous show. I am your host this week, Gloria Grace Rand, and we are going to be talking today about the frequency of abundance and all the lovely flavors that abundance shows up in our lives. So I've got some fabulous guests ready behind the scenes here to come on. So what are we waiting for? Let's talk. Oh, thank you for joining us today. And I'm having issues with the sun today, so I've got to try to remember to lean back. so if you see the sun coming on me, I don't know. We're just going to go with the flow. But I'm welcome to everyone who is watching, whether you're watching live or on replay. I'm so glad you're here, and I encourage you today to have a notepad and paper. Well, notepad and pen and pencil, that's what I'm trying to say, handy. So because I have a feeling you're going to want to take some notes today, because we're going to be talking about some good stuff, and I know our guests are going to have some great tips for us. So I'm going to start introducing them. So let's see. So over on I always get this messed up, my left, my right. Vicki's next to me, so I'm going to let you start.
Hi everyone. It's so wonderful to be here this afternoon. I'm Vicki Ibaugh. I live in Orlando, Florida, and I work with women entrepreneurs. And one of the things we talk about is abundance. So I'm really excited I get to share today.
Awesome. All right. And next to Vicki on my stage here is Theresa. So you want to go next, Theresa?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Theresa McGallicher. I live in a small town in southwestern Pennsylvania, and I'm retired after 20 years of government service.
Awesome. Welcome. And below you, we've got Julie.
Hey, everybody. I'm Julie Foucht. I'm the founder of the Art of Feminine Business, and I help witchpreneurs and light leaders and spiritual female entrepreneurs to build six-figure or better businesses that really align with their divine feminine essence.
And where are you today? Where are you coming
from? I am on the coast of California, so over in Monterey.
Awesome. All right. And then last but certainly not least, Suzanne.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Baker. I live in Merritt Island, Florida, which is on the same island as Kennedy Space Center, as many of you may know about that. I retired from the Space Center several years ago and have now pursuing my passion of music. And I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we are glad to have you. And we had one other guest scheduled, Dr. Tanya Jones, and I'm still hoping she may possibly come in later. If not, I do have a video from her. So if nothing else, I'll be able to share that with you all. And I think what I may do actually to kick things off, actually, I think I want to start with one of our guests did a video today, and I think I'm going to go with that so we can kind of kick things off and set the stage here for what we're talking about.
We are all made of energy, and so is everything that you desire. In order to attract more of what you desire, whether it's more money, more clients, more adventure, respect, connection, love, whatever it is, you must align the vibration of your energy with the vibration of your desires in order to attract it to you. And alignment happens through feelings, movement, focus, and intention. So my tip for today is to choose a high vibe piece of music that aligns with the feelings of having that thing that you desire. And then get up, close the curtains, and dance until you are immersed in it.
All right. Awesome. Well, wonder if I do this in the right place. Yes, I did remember. Hallelujah. So I'm going to put you in the spotlight here, Julie, and let you share a little bit more about about the, about why it is so important for us, I guess, to have this, high vibe frequency and how it relates to abundance.
Yeah. So when I started my study of money, many years ago, when dinosaurs were still, roaming the planet, the first thing I noticed was my emotions would really affect my ability to attract more money. And so as I dove in, I realized that my emotions had to be, if I wanted more money, then I needed to bring my emotion into those higher vibrations. Now, we are all made of energy, and so is everything we want. And so if we are wanting more money, but we are saying to money, oh my God, I don't have enough. There's never enough money. There's too much month. There's, I wish I had more. Then that vibration, that brings your vibration down. And it actually will work to close off your channels of receiving and to push money away. If, on the other hand, you're in a vibration of celebration, and we all have done this thing where we bought a new car, right? And then all of a sudden, every car on the road is like the same make, model, and color as our car. What you pay attention to, you're going to attract more of. And so if you're in an attitude towards money or adventure or joy or whatever you want of, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. Gratitude raises the vibration. I pick up change off the ground, and I always, whether it's a penny or a $20 bill, I am so grateful and happy to have it. And that vibration, that joy, is what attracts more. And so we're constantly looking at, oh, where's my vibration? Where's my emotion? What am I feeling? Do I need 2 more clients, or am I excited to have 2 more clients?
I love it. Yeah. Anyone else want to piggyback on that? Maybe Vicki. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And so I love what Julie was saying, because everything is made of matter. Everything is vibrating. Everything has energy. And when we get into this, I want this, but I don't have it. It's like we're putting out there, I don't have it. So we're matching up, I don't have it, as opposed to I have it. And so just a quick little story. I was driving a 14-year-old car that I absolutely loved. I was handing it down to my son, but I was ready for my new car. And I would walk in the garage and I would run my hand over my old car and I said, I love you and I love the new car that's going to be here soon. And so it was this trusting and allowing that I was grateful for what I already had, and I was grateful for what was coming at the same time. And at first I thought, well, if I do the whole well, if I have this much money and I do this and I'm doing the math and trying to figure it out, it would have taken much longer than if I just was like, I'm grateful it's coming. I'm grateful it's coming. And it was probably less than 60 days, circumstances aligned where I had a new car and I was handing my old car over to my son to have. So it is part of that, just being in gratitude and staying in that vibration, as opposed to being like, oh, why isn't it here yet? Like, why is it not here? Like I said, my mantra, why is it not here yet? But just in that knowingness of it's coming.
Yeah, that is so true. I really like that. And, as it happens, I'm gonna go ahead and do this other video because it aligns, speaking of aligning, very well with this for a second.
Hi, I'm Theresa McGallicher with a tip for keeping your frequency and your vibration high. The human mind has a tendency to always default to the negative, and that is because our mind and our nervous system is trying to keep us safe. I found a way to counteract that by recording my wins every evening in this little notebook. I call it my little book of blessings, and every night before I go to bed, I write down anything nice that happened to me during the day, whether it was a sale, or I got a compliment, or my daughter cooked dinner for me, or the weather was gorgeous. It doesn't matter what, so long as I record it. so that I can counteract the mind's natural tendency to go negative and keep my mindset positive, then I wake up the next morning with a high vibration and high frequency.
Yeah. So Theresa, like I said, this was sort of perfect timing that we're already talking about that. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on that? Because I know this is something that I do. I actually make a point of doing that at night as well before I go to bed. I used to do it first and then read, and then I realized I was kind of defeating the purpose. So now I read first and then do that. But what else can you share about that?
So it's just come into my awareness recently that the whole human body is trying to protect us in this world and keep us feeling safe. And one of the ways that it does that is to always be on the lookout for problems so that we can counter whatever problems show up for us. But because the mind is always scanning for problems out in the world, it seems like we constantly have issues and everything always seems to be going wrong. That's where our focus is. Like Julie said, what you focus on, you attract more of. And so when we consciously make the effort and intend to focus on the positive and to find the good things that happen during the day, we attract more of that automatically. So I have found that the mind always forgets. The mind is like a forgetting machine. And so we may have lots and lots of wonderful things happen to us during the day, but at the end of the day, the things that stand out for us and that we seem to remember most clearly are the bad things that happen, or the traumas or the dramas. And so that's why I started this practice of doing that in the evening. I've always had a morning practice of journaling in the morning, but I often would go to sleep at night with thinking about all the things that hadn't worked out during the day. And I found this practice really counteracts that and helps me to wake up fresh with a fresh start the next morning.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly, I can relate to that. And I definitely have found that to be the case for me as well. We've kind of been talking a little bit about the material abundance, but maybe we can talk about, how else maybe do any of you define maybe what true abundance really is?
I'd like to share that I was listening to something the other day, and the gentleman was saying that abundance is not a number, it's a feeling. And I can really relate to that because when you're feeling like both of you were saying, when you're feeling really good and your spirits are high and things are looking good, lots of good things are going to happen, but when you're down in the dumps, it just seems like one thing after another, will hit you, that's not what you want. But feelings, I think that's so important. How you feel.
Absolutely. In fact, I think this is an important one to do here. Make sure you're writing that down, because that's it. It's the feeling is all about that. And yeah, anybody else want to chime in with some thoughts on that?
I will.
Yeah.
So what I have discovered is that it's so interconnected. Abundance for me is being able to go out and walk in nature every morning. Abundance is having time with my grandchildren and having, a beautiful home and a great time with my husband. And the money that I'm able to bring in helps support that. So it becomes very interconnected in that money becomes a partner. And so I talk a lot about money and making a lot of money, and that's super important for me, for women to have money. And it's because of what money buys. And it comes from my first marriage, where I didn't have access to the money, where I was always scrambling. And I loved raising my kids, but I didn't like not having to the access. And I will tell you that when I am in that bliss of, I get to walk and we have nature outside it opens me so that more money comes in. So I don't think you can pull apart necessarily that the financial supports the other stuff and the other stuff supports the financial.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's an important thing to think about. You know what's occurring to me though is I'm thinking of people listening to this that might be like still sort of stuck in this mindset of like okay, this sounds great, but I just don't have enough, or I don't see how I can possibly get into raising my vibration even to be able to do that. Even though I know, Julie, I love the dancing thing. I'm with you on that one. I love I love that tip that you suggested. But what would you say to someone who's like, yeah, sure, but I don't know. How do I really do this?
I know one thing that I don't know if you're all familiar with Abraham Hicks, but I have a feeling you are. One thing that she says is that if you have 10 things going on in your life and one of them is good and the rest of them are not good, focus on just the good. And that's what I find that really helps me in abundance is that, I look out my window from where I'm sitting in my office and it's just, beautiful wetlands out there. And I feel so abundant in that. I have, so many things to be thankful for, so many things to appreciate. And I also remember my mother saying to me, you'll always have enough. And I think that phrase really has struck home with me because no matter what I'm going through, if I think that I don't have enough money, I don't have whatever, I always know that, I'm always going to have enough and I'm going to be okay. And I think having that thought in the back of my mind just really helps me realize how abundant my life really is.
Anybody else? Vicki or Theresa, you want to chime in?
Yeah, it's all about trust, isn't it?
Oh.
Sorry, Vicki.
That's okay.
For me, it's been learning through 12-step work and the Course in Miracles that I can trust in a higher power. And I don't have to figure everything out for myself. I don't have to do it all by myself. I can relax a little bit and allow things to come to me.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Vicki, you had something you were going to share?
Yeah. And so like a practical thing that I do, because, let's face it, even those of us who are good at being in high vibration still aren't always there. Like sometimes it happens. And so we were talking earlier about nature. And so if you go out into nature, you can look and you go, wow, there's an abundance of grass. There's an abundance of trees. There's an abundance of air. And so when I think of abundance, it's like, I never question if I'm going to be able to have enough oxygen to breathe. I just don't. And so I just keep reminding myself that, and to Suzanne's point, you focus on the evidence that aligns with what you want. Because, and this is neuroscience, I'm a former nurse who worked in neuro, and your brain has the reticular activating system, which is the matchmaker part of your brain. And so if you are walking around saying what it is you want and noticing the evidence and going, oh, look at that, that's true. Julie said earlier, she picks up the pennies. So if I'm like going around going, I am abundant, I attract abundance. Oh, look at that, I just found a dime on the ground. I am abundant, I am attracting abundance. And it is that feeling, and it's really teaching our brain to match up what we want. And the other side of this is the more you take care of yourself, the more you get enough sleep, the more you eat foods that nourish you, the more you move your body and you get out in nature and you do all those things. When your body feels good, when your mental health is good, when all of those things are good, and those things don't have to cost a lot of money to do, you will just start to notice and attract more of what you want.
I love that. In fact, I'm gonna play this little video right now. Yeah, because that I really think part of it too, and I love what you were just talking about, Vicki, because I think it's so great. And we talked a little bit about gratitude, but I'm wondering also, how does love play into abundance? Who's got a thought about that? I'll put you on the spot. Nobody volunteers. All right.
I'll always volunteer.
Okay. Perfect.
I think we need to go back to what is source, God, the universe, whatever your belief system is. I believe that is love in its purest sense, beyond human understanding. And as such, we're all made of that. We're all capable of love. We're all made of love. And when we start to recognize that I am love, I am created of the same substance that is source, is God, is the universe, and we recognize that, we are opening the door for more love. Just like seeing that green Honda Civic on the road after you buy your green Honda Civic, when you are noticing the love, you open to more love. I think there are practices that we forget about, and Vicki, you might know this number better, but I think I heard it was something like, we need 5 40-second hugs every day to feel good. Or, petting the cat or the dog for 20 seconds will bring more. That's just a practice to bring more love in. And at the center of all of this, and I want to acknowledge that I am at a place in my life where I'm very blessed. And I've worked really hard to get here. And there are people who aren't here. So you hear me talking about abundance, know that I was at that place once where I couldn't buy myself a pair of tennis shoes because my tennis shoes were falling apart. And that the first step is really recognizing I am the creatrix. I am love. I am one with source. And from that comes, your brain opens, all kinds of things can drop in to help you. And I also loved, I think it was Vicki was talking about getting the new car and this idea that I don't have to know how. I just have to be in the belief that I am creating the space for it right now because I am made of love. And I am loved, because who doesn't love love, right?
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and share. Dr. Tanya Jones wasn't able to be here, but she did actually share us a video, and I think it kind of ties in with what we're talking about right now.
Hello, I'm at the hospital, and I am reflecting on the birth of my first granddaughter. I'm looking a little rough, even though I didn't go through the process. I'm reflecting on birth, death, rebirth, the frequencies that we will all experience, and thinking in terms of the birth, death, and rebirth that's occurring in our country. We're in the process of going through an evolutionary ascension. We're going to create something better. Just like my little granddaughter is beautiful, the life we're going to create is beautiful. Your frequency will determine your reality. Keep your thoughts high. Music, joy, laughter, and love. It works. Bye.
And I love that she even mentioned music, and Suzanne was actually on our show not too long ago talking about the power of music. Suzanne, you want to maybe tie in a little bit more? Because I know Julie mentioned about dancing and things. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about how does maybe music fit in with abundance?
Well, I believe that music raises your vibration. Especially music that you like. I remember when I was growing up, my older brother loved jazz, and he used to listen to, I'm trying to think who it was. Anyway, the guy played the trumpet and the saxophone, and I remember the first time I heard it, it sounded like an orchestra tuning up. and I thought, how can anybody like that kind of jazz, but I found that music really, it's a vibration, and it kind of equalizes the vibration in your body. It finds it, goes right in and just finds it and just stays right there. And what I like to do is, I'm a girl of the 60s. I like to listen to 50s and 60s rock and roll. And that takes my vibration right to the top. And it really does. And I'm very blessed and feel so abundant. And this, Gloria, that I sing in a group, the three of us, and we sing at assisted living facilities. And my heart is so full when we sing there because of the abundance of love that we feel from the people in the audience, because they love the songs, they sing the songs, they are with us every minute of the songs. They are so grateful and appreciative of us being there. And music just plays a huge role in my life, and I'm so happy to be able to share it.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that as well. And it actually it was making me think of another question I wanted to pose to you is, how does, because you say you're giving of your music to everyone there, and they appreciate it, and you feel that love of abundance. How does maybe serving others play into abundance?
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna go first? Vicki, did you want to have something? Or
yeah, I'll go first.
Okay.
So I think that one of the really cool things about as you start attracting more abundance is when you get to then funnel that and share that with other people. It's a really powerful thing. Like, you get to gift to others, and the more purpose you give your abundance, like, I'm attracting this and then I'm putting it out there. It reminds me of, and I'll mess up the quote, but it's like, if you are the candle, you can light so many other candles, and in no way does that diminish your candle. And so just because I have abundance doesn't mean Suzanne can't have abundance, and Gloria and Theresa and Julie. There is an abundance. There's an infinite amount out there. And one of my dear friends used to always say, there's enough sand on the beach for all of us and then some. Abundance is just this infinite thing that we have a hard time wrapping ourselves around, and that me having more doesn't mean you can't have more. We can all have more. We can all have more than what we need, and then be able to share that with others as kind of like this catalyst to them then creating their own ability to attract abundance through the evidence showing up for them through you.
Yeah, that's so good. Anyone else? Maybe Theresa or Julie, do you guys have any thoughts on this?
Sure. I love what Vicki said. That's been a big shift for me in my thinking over the years, because I was raised with a lot of scarcity thinking and poverty consciousness that was passed down through generations from, my grandparents who lived during the Depression and even farther back. So I grew up thinking there was a limited amount to go around of everything, and that if one person had something, it meant less for somebody else. And it's been a real learning process to understand that that's not how the world works. There's always more of everything. And nature will show you that when you see how flowers bloom or trees produce fruit. One apple falls off a tree, and there's enough seeds in that apple to produce many, many more apple trees. And that's the way that the universe was designed. So for us to believe and think that there's only so much for us is really kind of illogical.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. It's so, it doesn't make sense sometimes, but I know that we can, well, I think I forget now who had mentioned it, about, maybe it was Theresa, but how, we just get stuck in this, our negative mindset. And I think there's like stories or some studies, I should say, that have been done. That's like 80% of the thoughts we think every day are either negative or they're repeated. And a lot of times they are the negative. So we really have to be mindful and be really working at thinking about how to raise our vibration. Oh, which just made me think of something else. Words. How important are words in raising our vibration and having that abundance? Who wants to chime in on that? Julie?
Words are magic.
Nodding your head.
Words are magic. That's why we call them spells, as a client used to say. It's about, and I'm really careful with words. I'll catch myself all the time saying things. First of all, you want your unconscious to believe you. So if I say something like, I can't wait for that to happen, my unconscious brain goes, well, that's not true, right? You have to wait for that to happen. You can do it. But I think that what we're telling ourselves, our unconscious brain, which is what, 80%, is listening to the words. And if I'm saying to myself, this is great, I'm so grateful for this penny I found and all the pennies that are coming in the future, my brain is like, yes, let's go find more pennies. Let's go find more dollars. If I'm saying to myself, oh, this isn't enough, I need more, then my brain is going, you're right, there's not enough, I agree with you, and creates the opportunity for there to never be enough. And so it is important that the words we're putting out, and it's important to how other people hear us. You know, I think we're all in business. And do you want to hire someone who's putting out a message of, doom and gloom? Or do you want to hire someone who's putting out a message of hope and joy? And so those words have power as they come out of our mouths. And I think it's more important than ever as we are in a space of humanity evolving. How do we want to evolve? And what are we putting out? And I think that's why it's so brilliant, those of you who are writing down your happy things at the end of every day, because those are the words that turn into the prayers to the divine.
Absolutely.
The magic spells that you're writing, the spells that we're writing into our descendants, all of what we've been talking about and all of the negative was created in our family lineage. And we are now here to change our family lineage by writing new spells going forward.
Oh, that is perfect. And you just gave me the perfect segue, my dear, because we've been talking about actually legacy on this show for a few months now, and again, this is a song that a dear friend of the show, Skip, we call him Steampunk Poe, put together, and it speaks to really raising the vibration and also legacy. So let's tune in and listen to this for a little bit.
In the quiet moments, when the sun begins to rise, we find the strength within us. In the stories of our lives, not in gold or glory, but in hearts we've touched with grace, in the love we share with others, in each kind and gentle face. Your legacy is the love you leave behind, in the hands you've held and the souls you've helped to find. It's the laughter in the children, the wisdom in the old. It's the light you sparked in others, in the stories that are told. Through the trials and the triumphs, in the battles that we fight, it's the courage and the kindness that will always shine so bright. In the lessons that we teach and the dreams that we inspire, in the way we lift each other higher and higher. Your legacy is the love you leave behind, in the heads you've held, in the souls you've helped to find. It's the laughter in the children, the wisdom in the old. It's the light you sparked in others, in the stories that are told. In the final song you sung, and the curtains drawing near, it's the moments filled with love that will echo year to year. In the footprints on the path that guide the lost and blind, your legacy will live on in the hearts you've left behind. Your legacy is the love you leave behind, in the hands you've held, the souls you've helped to find. It's the laughter in the children, the wisdom in the old. It's the light you sparked in others, in the stories that are told. So let's live with open hearts and give with all our might, for the legacy we leave is a beacon in the night, in the echoes of our actions, in the whispers of the wind. Our legacy of love is where it all begins. Our legacy of love is where it all begins.
Your legacy will live on in the hearts you've left behind.
I love that song. And but before we went, Tamara had a great quote, and I just want to comment about when you were talking, Julie, and it was about, writing down our words are what turns into prayers. Love that she put that. And you also shared a little bit about your story, and I thought it might be interesting, if y'all don't mind, and if I can get somewhere where I don't have the sun on my face. If anybody else has like a personal story about how you were able to start realizing that, how to be able to, why it's so important really to raise our vibration, and to have, if we want to be able to attract that abundance. So would anyone care to be maybe a little bit vulnerable and share a little bit about their experience with that? Okay. Yay. Thank you for volunteering. Vicki, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So where I grew up, I had no idea we were poor, but we grew all of our own food until I was 14. And I had no idea that we were growing food because we couldn't afford to buy food. And so but for me, it was weird because it was like, we didn't have much, but we always had food because we grew our own food. So there's evidence of abundance there. But both of my parents have very much oh my gosh, we got to hoard our money. We've got to hoard our supplies. They're in that scarcity, poverty mindset. And whenever my husband and I would choose to, like invest in something or do something kind of frivolous, it took them years to understand that we were just in trust that we could enjoy life. We could do these things and there would still be more to come. And so now they have started to do that. But it's been really hard. And my sister is still in that, where she, told my nephew, I know you want to go to school there and it's your dream school, but guess what? That's not possible for you. She diminished his ability to dream. And I think that's part of the abundance of when you when you limit yourself because you don't think it's possible, because you're like, no, I have to live small. And yet there are ways that things get provided to you if you can just be open to the fact that it might come in a different way than you ever expected it to. My son had epilepsy We were in the hospital, and we thought the only answer for curing his epilepsy was to take out part of his brain. And I was home for 24 hours because I needed to rest after being in the hospital for weeks on end. And I remember saying, I see him as healthy and whole, which is a frequency of abundance. I see him as healthy and whole. I see him as healthy and whole. And I just kept repeating that. I kept repeating the outcome I wanted, which I think speaks to the frequency of abundance.
Yeah.
And sure enough, 2 weeks later, they said, hey, we don't know what's happened, but his brain waves look really good right now. We don't think he needs anything. We think we can just pull out all these electrodes off the surface of his brain and he'll be fine. It will be 13 years in February since this last seizure. And I believe that is just evidence of the power of abundant thinking, of there can be answers that are beyond your how it has to happen. And when we can do that, when we can trust that the universe, God, and source have a plan and are co-creating with us, and that they have access to way more abundant ideas than we do in our little human brains, that's where real stuff can show up. And I've seen that show up over and over in my life. And had I followed the path of my parents, I would not have the life I have today. I chose to always see that it was possible for things to show up, and for the abundance, if I set the vision for this is the outcome I desire, and then just allow things to start working and constantly be in gratitude and hope and knowing that it always all works out, it just all falls into place.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, and that was something we didn't even talk about, an abundance of health. That is, something that, for those of us who are healthy, sometimes we take that for granted until something happens. And, as you shared there. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing your story. Anybody else have any thoughts? Because otherwise I have somebody who's watching comment, go to that next, but yeah, go ahead, Suzanne.
It's interesting. Financially, I've always felt comfortable financially. There was a couple times in my life, but most of the time I felt okay. But for some reason, a couple of years ago, I started really watching my dollars and thinking, oh, I can't do this. I'm going to have to hold back on that. I'm not going to be able to travel or do whatever I wanted at that point. And this year, for some reason, I thought, you know what? It's going to be okay. I can do this. And I'm financially, nothing has really changed financially of my income because as I said, I'm retired. But, it's like I was paying bills. It wasn't this month, it was last month. And I thought, where did all that money come from? It was the weirdest thing. It was like, I paid because I had like my property taxes, I had my car insurance, I had all this stuff going on. And I'm going, hey, what happened? I could afford it. It worked. And I'm like, what happened was I just released it. I let it go. I knew I was going to be okay. And sure enough, somebody put money in my bank. I don't know who. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, that goes back to that, gratitude is so key as well. And so I love that. Thank you so much for doing that. I did want to put up, there was a comment went by here from Renee, and whoops, if I can find it. There it is. She said, we don't often see our own light. Being around your own tribe attracts more of the same. How important is that, to be around, people with like-mindedness, around this frequency of abundance? Who wants to chime in? Maybe Theresa. We haven't heard from you in a little bit. I'm going to put you in the spotlight. What do you think?
Sure. It's super, super important to be surrounded by people that uplift you and people that believe in you, because we're trained from a very young age, from children, to pay attention to the people around us and do what they tell us. We're, to follow what our parents tell us to do, what our teachers tell us to do, what our boss tells us to do as adults. And if that's the default, we're going to give credence and importance to that. So I don't think it can be overstated how important it is to be around people who are positive and an environment that's positive. And you can't always change your environment, and definitely you can't change your family. So you need to seek out friendships and colleagues and people that will keep you in that high vibration if you want to stay there.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Anybody else want to chime in here on that?
I just want to bring in like one point as to why it's so important. So there's this concept called energy entrainment. And so if you've ever been in a room of like everybody complaining and being, you know, kind of like just negative, your energy will be brought down to that level, which is why with the theory of energy entrainment, if you surround yourself with people who are positive, who are looking for solutions, who are seeking out the, you know, the positive way and looking at things from a positive point of view, it will raise your energy up. So earlier, Gloria, when you were talking about like, what do people do if they're just like trying to figure this out? Go surround yourself with people who are in an abundant energy, and energy entrainment will bring you up. It will pull you into that energy flow. And so that is like the underlying thing of why it's so important who you surround yourself with.
I've been waiting to do that. That was a good one. Yes, it's your tribe. You know, they say, you know, your vibe attracts your tribe, but it is important. Yeah, I think to be around people who are even at that high vibe, because it really is, it does lift you, even if you're not there. And there are some days when we're just not there, but it's okay. But that's why you do that, or you listen to music, or you go outside in nature. There's so many wonderful things that we can do to be able to help us remember that, you know, we do live in an abundant world. We are abundant. We are the definition of abundance. Just because we're alive and breathing beings right now, I think and then that comes back to the gratitude part of it. So, wow, we're time is running by here rapidly, but we still have about 10 minutes or so left in the show. So, what other ways can people, or maybe let's talk maybe a little bit more about this? You know, why is it so important for us to really focus on the frequency and to focus on our frequency?
I think it's necessary to just focus on feeling good. You know, and I think that's, I mean, to try to say, oh, I'm going to focus on this certain frequency, or I'm going to, you know, whatever. Just the most important thing is just to feel good. And as long as you're feeling good, healthy, even if you're not in the top of health, you know, tip top of health, you can still feel good. And I don't know, I assume all of you, or I think all of you have experienced this, that you may have had a headache or pain or something that was bothering you, but all of a sudden you were listening to music, or someone was carrying on a conversation that you got engrossed in, and you forgot about the headache, or you forgot about your pain, you know. And that's what you really need to do. You need to distract yourself if you have to, and focus on the positive feelings of, and do whatever you need to do to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, Theresa.
Yeah, I think it's important to feel good, because you can't give what you don't have. And so many of us, especially women, are always trying to help other people. We have to help ourselves first, and, you know, put the oxygen mask on ourselves before we try to help the person next to us. And we're told to love others as we love ourselves, not more than we love ourselves, and not less than we love ourselves, but as much as we love ourselves. And feeling good is a way of caring for yourself.
That is so true. I talk about that a lot when I have my own podcast and with my own clients. Absolutely, it is so important. And yeah, and I love that Tamara put this up to remind us. I think all of these things, humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love, helps to heal us, and it helps raise our vibration and helps with that vibration of abundance for sure. I think what I'm going to do a quick other little video because it's also about what our show is all about as well. So I'm going to play this real quick.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been shown that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
Share this with your friends and family and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
If you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
Well, we've got roughly about 5 more minutes left. So how about we go around and each of you kind of share with us one last tip or comment about this today. So who would like to go first? Julie, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to have you go first.
Sure. Final tip, my favorite saying, source is my source. When you can trust, we talked about trust, that source has your back, whether it's source, universe, God, you just do your part and trust that source is there for you. Source is providing for you. And the more you lean into that, the more it attracts, the more your vibration goes up and it brings in. So it's actually on my wall, just source is my source.
That is so good. I love that. Let's see. Suzanne, how about you?
Well, it's like I said earlier, the most important thing is just to feel good. And once you have that good feeling running through your body, and also it's interesting. I was listening to something the other day and the woman was we were talking about meditation, and she says, I have a difficulty meditating, but what I do is I just take the 3 deep breaths and exhale, and that lifts your vibration also. And I do that at night when I go to bed. I do my deep breathing then, and it really does. It really helps you relax. It helps you feel better from one end to the other, And I think that's the most important thing, is just to feel good.
Awesome. Let's see. Theresa, you want to go next?
Yeah, I would like to say that doing whatever it takes to raise your vibration, raise your frequency, and feel good is not a selfish thing to do. It's the most selfless thing that you can do, because your joy and happiness spreads to the people around you, and you never know what kind of ripple effect you may have by just being in your happy.
That is so true. Absolutely. Yeah. Vicki, how about you?
Yeah, so many great things, and I think we're kind of all saying in a way similar things, where it's really about you. As we said earlier, putting your own oxygen mask on. Your biggest job every day is to pour into yourself, because from there everything else happens. And that can be, for everybody, it's slightly different. Maybe it's getting out in nature. Maybe it's doing the deep breathing. Maybe it's the meditation. Maybe it's reading a book, putting on music, dancing. We all have our own little formula we can develop. And what's awesome is we can just keep dipping into that when we see our frequencies slip. And I just want to point out one last thing. We all have stuff happen to us where it causes us to feel sad or to feel grief and all those things. In no way do I think any of us are saying don't feel those feelings. It's a matter of when you're having those feelings, like allow those feelings and find ways to also feel good at the same time. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. And so I never want to be the Pollyanna that says, oh, well, you're just happy all the time. None of us are communicating that. We have real feelings. We have real things. And we also have this toolkit that we can develop of things that allow us to get into abundance despite those things sometimes happening in our lives.
Oh yeah, that was another writer downer. I'm not going to do the video, but trust me, it's a writer downer. So I hope you all are doing that. And I love your other point too. I think, Theresa, you also mentioned about the importance of being that example for others and helping to lift others up as well. And that again goes back to the power of community. But yeah, to set that example, because yeah, it's not always easy being a human, it's it can be a challenge some days, but we keep at it and we do our best, and that's the point. So I think as long as we keep trying and know that, yeah, there's going to be days where we're not going to feel up to it, but just don't stay there. Don't stay in that vibration. Don't let yourself do that. Because I know I've had that happen as well. And then I'll be like, I don't want to feel this way. I just don't want to do it. I'm going to go figure out something. I'll put on an old CD or something and do something to raise my vibration. So thank you all, one and all, for being here today. You have been wonderful. And thank you to everyone who's been commenting. And I appreciate all of you as well. And we will be back again next week. I won't be hosting, but there will be another fabulous host here with another wonderful panel who will have amazing things to talk about. So until then, thank you again so much, and we'll see you again next week.
I want to say thank you for joining us today and welcome you back next Sunday as we once again are joined by a panel of subject matter experts that will explore and focus in on our fabulous lives. Until next Sunday.